Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Am I clear, Ian?
Yes po, Doc Lynn. We can hear you loud.
All right.
And
Thank you,
clearly.
Ian. I could not see anymore the chat box. So thank you very much for confirming. And of course, thank you, Ian, for that very kind introduction. To our colleagues from UP NISMED and Gokong Wei Brothers Foundation, thank you so much for engaging me in this webinar. And of course, to all our Kasama teachers in this Kasama Teachers community, thank you for tuning in to this webinar. And thank you as you are here. As to me, that is an expression of interest to this topic that was assigned to me, and this is all about aligning mathematics teacher preparation and practices to the challenges of PISA. I was told that this webinar is just for 1.5 hours to include already the introduction and the Q&A, and so I have to be conscious of this time that was set for me, as sometimes I have this tendency of really talking a lot and forgetting about the need to be sensitive as well to the amount of time that one has to be, exposed to technologies like in a webinar setup like this. So thank you very much again, Ian. And in this webinar, I hope we could attain this. So this is something I hope is attainable within this 1.5 hours session. And for whoever is tuned in here, I understand, of course, the target are mathematics teachers, but I saw some people that I know of who are not necessarily mathematics teachers, the professional education courses faculty, and probably also our colleagues from the science group, as this community is a community of mathematics and science teachers. And whoever is tuned in, so pardon me for being very specific of targeting mathematics teachers, as the presentation today is really more on how our mathematics education aligns with PISA mathematics literacy framework and all other related innovative areas captured by the OECD in its international or global large-scale assessment called PISA, or Program International Student Assessment. So this is, I hope, what you are doing while listening to me. As you listen, that I hope you could identify the areas needing improvement in your own practice to address whatever challenges that you saw in my this afternoon's presentation. But usually the questions and the answering to these questions are posed at the end of the forum. But then, to me, I thought it would be good for you to post first your questions, and then later on check if your questions have been addressed in my presentation and still not addressed despite your typing in of it, then you can reiterate this again during the Q&A portion. So if you are indeed there, active and listening, actively listening to this webinar, then my gauge of your engagement is not just typing in your name and where you come from and ticking, whatever emoticons there that are appropriate, to reflect how you feel right now. But I want you to think a bit by, as I said here, as I indicated here you have to post your comment. Okay, so let me see. Post in the comment section your question. So knowing that this is about a presentation of how aligned the mathematics education curriculum is, so that's the mathematics teacher preparation, as I said, to the PISA mathematics literacy framework and related areas in PISA, then what question do you want, hopefully, this session to answer? Tingnan po natin. Kasi, of course, your signing up in this webinar signals that you are curious of something, that you want, you are probably in search of some questions why we performed poorly in PISA and other international large-scale assessments. Of course, my focus is just on PISA, but I understand that the results corroborate with other international large-scale assessments that we participated in, not only in 2018, but also in 2019. And that's the TIMSS for grade 4, although TIMSS is also given to grade 8, but we only participated in grade 4, math and science. And of course, the regional assessment called CPLM, or Southeast Asia Primary Learning Metrics, offered to grade 5 learners, where mathematics literacy is also a component. So we'll not be covering the other two in this presentation, but we'll just focus on PISA, as that's the focus of my study and my presentation in today's afternoon. So I could not see any question yet. Sige na po. Tingnan natin, mga mathematics teachers and all other viewers, could you please type in first your question? Just your question. I'm giving you 1 minute. So I'll pause for a while to give you time to contemplate on your most essential question in attending this session. Okay.
Doc Lynn, do you need help po in sorting the comments?
I don't know. We could get back. Maybe somebody from the group could sort the questions and for us to revisit this later on. I'm not supposed to answer these questions yet, but it's for them to evaluate whether their questions have been answered after my presentation. And to get back to them later on, if again, even after listening for an hour, that they have not still found the answer to the question that they posed here. Maybe you could read some of the questions while the others are thinking of what to write there, Ian?
Sure, Doc Lynn. So one question here is, how can we be able to address such issues regarding mathematics as a difficult subject? So that's a question from Sir Romeo Escarial. And then we also have another question naman po from Ma'am Rowena Rivera. How can we improve students' performance in mathematics? So maybe pertaining to PISA na po ito, no? And then we have also another question from Ma'am Maria Wilma Pulga. What are the specific competencies for mathematics grade 10 that are being measured in the PISA? Ayan. So these are some of the interesting questions that we are seeing. We also have a question from Ma'am Tonette Pangilinan. How do we align students' assessment to the present situation? And so those are some of the questions that are being addressed or being typed in the comment section po, Doc Lynn.
All right. Thank you, Ian, my colleague from PIMEA, for reading some of the questions. So I'll try to cover all those, and I hope in my presentation that I planned that I could respond to the questions given here. Keep on typing in your questions. As I said, we'll get back to those in the end of the session to evaluate if indeed the session led you to finding your answers to the questions that you pose. So let me continue now. These are the things that I hope to cover. As you can see here, I'm showing that this is a product of my research. This was actually completed in August of this year, and I started this last year, and even had a similar study conducted in first semester of 2020, which we conducted upon learning that that our performance was poor in the 2018 PISA. But as this was released in December last quarter, or to be specific, parang December 3 or 4 of 2019, when we learned that we landed at the bottom among 79 participating countries in reading assessment, and second from the bottom in mathematics and science. So we started working on some examination of documents, and we did a study on alignment of PISA with K-12 curriculum. We examined 7 areas actually in grades 7 to 10 of the K-12 curriculum to check whether we are aligned with the framework of PISA in these 3 areas that were mentioned. So we look at alignment of PISA reading with reading K-12 grade 7 to 10, and so with mathematics literacy with grade 7 to 10 again, all in junior high school, and science literacy in grade 7 to 10. And in addition to this 3 major assessment areas in PISA, we also look at 4 other innovative areas. PISA calls these innovative areas like global citizenship, which was the focused area in 2018, and collaborative problem solving, which was a focus in 2015. In 2022, supposed to be 2021, but this coming year, there will be another round of PISA, and this will include creative thinking. So we also look at that innovative area in our previous study. And the last one is on financial literacy. But financial literacy is something integrated in almost all cycles. It's an alternative. It's an optional assessment. If one country wants to take it, then that's readily available for their taking as well. But I think we did not take this. But then we thought this is something worth looking into as well. So we included that in our previous study. The study I'm referring to is titled Challenges of PISA, the Philippine Normal University Report. And you could see the report available in the PNU website. So if your question is about how aligned the PISA is to the K-12 curriculum, this is not the answer. No, I mean, this study that I'm presenting here is not the answer, as that is something you could actually find in the study prior to this focus on teacher ed, because the one of the recommendations in the previous study that I mentioned when we look at the alignment of K-12 to PISA is that we hope the teacher education curriculum is also examined as to how responsive it is, no, in addressing the challenges of PISA. And so when I took my sabbatical leave, which ended just this August, I thought of examining one area of interest of mine. Of course, Ian has mentioned that I specialize in educational research and evaluation, but my first love is in mathematics education too, as that's my area of specialization in my master's program. And so that was the area I looked into in the teacher education curriculum. So these are the things that I want to cover: the purpose of the study, the methodology, the targets of the BS Ed major in mathematics program based on the CMO or CHED Memorandum Order number 75, 2017. So if you are teaching at the secondary level in higher education institutions rather, then you must be able to understand what this policy is that I'm referring to. No, this is on the policy standards and guidelines in Bachelor of Secondary Education. So that is CMO 75 series of 2017. There are other CMOs in that year released by CHED. This is the one that I look at, as it is where the program is aligned when it comes to how we could address or understand why we perform poorly in the PISA. And then, of course, I did the analysis of the BSE Mathematics based on the program outcomes, the teacher education outcomes, and performance indicators, including the courses. I look at up to the level of the course descriptions. And then from my analysis, which was verified by or validated by 3 external mathematics educators that have been in the higher education institutions for more than, well, the minimum was 14, and the most senior that I engaged had been in the service for 34 years. So I engaged them by them looking at or checking on my analysis of the document. Then I'll give you the recommendations. Now, let me start with the purpose of the study. It says here that I examine how responsive the BSED major in mathematics program is in meeting the demands of PISA as one source of the indicators of the effectiveness of the K-12 program. If you recall, in 2013, of course, we implemented the K-12, the enhanced K-12 program. But prior to that, we participated in international large-scale assessments already. That's the TIMSS, or the Trends International Mathematics Science Survey, which where we participated in 3 cycles, in 1995, then in 1999, then in 2003. Then there was this TIMSS Advance that was held in 2018. And in all those cycles where we participated, we landed, if not at the bottom, among the low-performing countries. And then we found out, we discovered there was a pattern in our performance in all those cycles. And we found out that among the participating countries, particularly in Asia, we were the only one with only a 10-year basic education, and that led us, if not the trigger, at least one of the triggers of the needed reform in basic education. And so in 2013, the law was enacted, and that's the Republic Act 10533, or the Enhanced Basic Education Act in 2013, which we implemented nationwide, where DepEd, CHED, and TESDA led us to improving the program that we are implementing. Of course, we talk about K-12, but K-12 informs how teacher education should be designed, as the program should prepare the teachers that are expected to deliver the K-12 program. So that was one of the reasons. We want our curriculum to be comparable with international countries, international benchmarks, or with other countries. And if you look at the reason why the K-12 program was launched, it says there that we want our Filipino children to be globally competitive and not only locally competitive, and of course to be equipped with 21st century skills, and for them to be holistically developed. So having in mind, this intention of the law, and that there's this provision there that says that the Department of Education should allot budget to attain all these international benchmarks. And then, of course, DepEd followed such mandate, as in 2019, in its DepEd Order number 29, it has released its assessment policy, which is a system assessment policy. And in that policy, it indicated there that we will be participating in international large-scale assessments for us to gather indicators of the effectiveness of the K-12 curriculum that we implemented, and so its delivery. And PISA was one of the targeted international large-scale assessments. There were 3 other ILSAs that were mentioned there. Of course, I mentioned TIMSS, Trends International Mathematics Survey, and CPLM, that's for grade 5. STEAMS is for grade 4 and 8 for mathematics and science, and so with PILS, but we have not participated in PILS yet. We participated just in 3 in this time of K-12. So the first ILSA that we participated in is PISA, and that's meant for the 15-year-old learners. So for the one who asked question what the competencies are that are targeted in PISA for mathematics grade 10, I think you could not find all of them in just one grade level, as PISA is not just like TIMSS where it sets their grade 4, grade 8, or in CPLM where it sets there that the ones targeted to be assessed are grade 5 learners. PISA is different, as this could involve several grade levels. As long as the sample students are 15-year-old learners, whether they are in junior high school or senior high school, once the school is sampled, then there's chance for the students in that same school, whatever grade level they are in, to be included. So that's the difference. It is age dependent and not grade dependent. So with that, we know that we were at the bottom, if not one of the countries at the bottom. So I guess you were also dismayed of the result and curious as to what happened, as we don't want this to happen. We all aim for improvement in quality of education that we have. And so here I am trying to give my share in understanding the source of the problem. And as I said, we did a study to check on the alignment of the K-12 curriculum with PISA. And here I am offering another possible support to understand the state of mathematics education in particular by examining what the policy that CHED has released says about how teachers, mathematics teachers in particular, are expected to be developed. And so I look at the program outcomes, performance indicators, the courses, and the descriptions that are suggested there in the CMO, vis-a-vis the following areas in PISA. So I looked at the PISA mathematics literacy, financial literacy framework, collaborative problem solving, and creative thinking. And of course, from this analysis that I hope I could offer some areas for improvement, but these are all recommendations that will have to be considered not only by CHED or the institutions, but by also you mathematics teachers and whoever is into the same field listening to me at present. So I hope you could also do your share for the sake of our Filipino learners and our country, definitely. How did I do this? As this is a lone researcher work, as this is a product of my sabbatical leave, as I mentioned. So this is a document analysis type of research where I went through 3 stages. Of course, pre-document analysis, and this involves the collection of the data that I have to examine. And when we talk of official documents to examine when it comes to PISA, of course, I have to refer to OECD. So that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, as it releases there all the frameworks that they've been testing since 2000, because PISA started in 2000. So I looked at the most recent document, the 2019 document that pertains to PISA 2021. But as I said, this was moved to next year. March to May will be the testing time, and DepEd has already pronounced our participation in PISA again. And I heard that there are more than 80 participating countries this time. Of course, when we participated for the first time, there were only 79. But now there are more countries participating, which means to say that there are many countries in the world who believe on the contribution of PISA in improving the state of education that a country has. And so this was the same document that I look at. And when it comes to the teacher preparation curriculum, I have no other source but the CHED website. And that's where everybody could see the policies, standards, and programs pertaining to teacher education. And as I said, it's the CMO 75 2017 or series of 2017 that I looked at. So those were the documents, and then I prioritized the analysis of mathematics, and then I moved on to related innovative areas. I mentioned financial literacy, collaborative problem solving, and creative thinking. As I looking at all the documents that I examined about PISA, that mathematics is a component of all these areas. And there's one too, global citizenship. Well, of course, global citizenship, which was the innovative area in 2018, is not just necessarily expected to be integrated in mathematics, but that's for integration across subject areas and levels as well. But I did not include that anymore in my analysis. And then after the actual document analysis, I subjected my work to the evaluation of external mathematics educators before I shared my report to the public in our website, in the Philippine Normal University research portal. That's where you could find the study. And this is the image of the book that you could see here. Just in case you want to have a copy of the entire report that I prepared. This is not perfect. If you see imperfections, please pardon me for that. That's an offshoot of my being imperfect as a person. Okay, so let me move now to the third item, and that's for me to share with you what I believe in the program, mathematics teacher education program has targeted as defined in CMO 75 2017. Well, you could not see this in the documents. This is the BSE Major in Mathematics program, or BSE in particular, kasi broad pa yung pinapakita ko dito. You can see this diagram in the document as I did this. This is my way of synthesizing all the information that I saw there in the document, because I want to have a visual image of how the curriculum is designed, so that I have a good grasp, just like what you could see when we talk of CMO number 75, series of 2017. This includes all programs or areas of specialization in the BSE program, and mathematics is just one of the 6 areas covered by this document. But if you look at the document, it says there that all these areas, the 6 of them, were designed with reference to the K-12, meaning the program should be able to develop teachers who are capable of delivering the K-12 curriculum, and that's logical, of course, as we are preparing teachers in basic education in this program. And they also mentioned the NCBTS. I don't know if you still remember NCBTS. This is the National Competency-Based Teacher Standards, which eventually became the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, the Philippine Normal University Research Center for Teacher Quality, where I have been part of in its first 4 years of existence, has led developed. So PPST is not necessarily just a renaming of NCBTS, but this proposes a different structure on how we look at the standards for teachers, as there are 4 career stages here. No? The beginning teacher standards, the proficient teacher standards, the highly proficient teacher standards, and the distinguished teacher standards. Okay, and then there's also mentioning of the Philippine Qualifications Framework, so tinignan Philippine Context Lab, and then there's mentioning about the reference to other relevant documents. My understanding is that they also did their benchmarking. I'm referring to the people who crafted the document. And in my study, of course, my focus is just on mathematics. That's why you see here at the right, my highlight on the red to refer to the program that I'm just interested in, and which is what I'm focusing now in my presentation. This is how I did it. I looked just at the BSE, looking at the program outcomes. I call it general, but they call it institutional teacher education and discipline program outcomes. And from all these program outcomes, the CMO indicated also the expected performance indicators for mathematics program and the courses that should be offered as minimum by any teacher education institution. And I mapped this with 4 areas in PISA. I, of course, prioritize mathematics literacy, but I also look at financial literacy, collaborative problem-solving framework, and so with creative thinking. It's critical that we look at creative thinking, as this is one of the areas in 2022. There are 2 highlighted areas in 2022, and that's mathematics literacy, which is the heaviest component of among the 3 areas that are usually covered in PISA: mathematics, reading, and science usually. Then among the innovative areas, creative thinking po ang focus nito naman. Now, here are the results. So first, I look at the institutional program outcomes of the PSE, major in mathematics. Ay hindi necessarily mathematics lang, all areas. So I put here all the 6 areas, as this is common in all the 6 areas that were covered by that document. And it says here that the graduate of any institution or school should have the ability to first articulate and discuss the latest developments in the specific field of practice. So if we see PISA as one of the latest developments now in education, then this is something we should be able to discuss anytime, especially if we are teachers. We should be able to articulate what we understood from this particular reference in making our curriculum and practice internationally benchmarked. Effectively communicate in English and Filipino. So the issue on the language, if our Filipino learners are probably better if they are tested in Filipino and not necessarily in English, that be addressed by our teachers who are capable of communicating well in English and in Filipino, both orally and in writing, as the ones tested in PISA are already 15-year-old learners, and so their teachers should be able to demonstrate to them good communication in these 2 languages in whatever form, no, oral or in written form. And the third is for the teachers to work effectively and collaboratively with substantial degree of independence in multidisciplinary and multicultural teams, and act in recognition of professional, social, and ethical responsibility. And finally, preserve and promote Filipino historical and cultural heritage. I highlighted the important words, key words that could be linked to PISA, why we participated in PISA, and why in this webinar we are discussing this. I think this is one of the recent information that we are all curious of knowing and understanding to improve the quality of education that we have in the country. When it comes to teacher education, so this is specific now to teacher education, BSE, BE-Ed, early childhood, and all other teacher education programs from CMO 74 to 80 and 82. So because those are the CMO or TED Memorandum Order, PSGS, or policy standards and guidelines in teacher education. So these are common too in any teacher education programs. And it says here that the graduates have that should have the ability to articulate. So there's this consistency on articulating the rootedness of education in philosophical, social, cultural, historical, psychological, and political context. Demonstrate mastery of the subject matter. So that's very important, no? Emphasize in our program, facilitating learning using a wide range of teaching methodologies and delivery modes appropriate to specific learners and their environment. Develop innovative curricula, instructional plans, teaching approaches, and resources for diverse learners. Apply skills in the development and utilization of ICT, as PISA is computer-based, so this is very relevant, no, to promote quality, relevant, and sustainable educational practices, and demonstrate a variety of thinking skills in planning, monitoring, assessing, and reporting learning processes and outcomes. Practice professional and ethical teaching standards sensitive to local, national, and global realities. And finally, pursue lifelong learning for personal and professional growth through varied experiential and field-based opportunities. So again, I highlighted the keywords that I know could give you an understanding of how PISA was crafted in its framework. And then for mathematics specific education program outcomes and performance indicators, there are 7 of these program outcomes in mathematics and more than 20 in total of these performance indicators. And you could see each one, no, all the indicators under each of the program outcomes. For the first, exhibit competence in mathematical concepts and procedures, and there are 4 indicators under this program outcome for your reference na lang. Number 2, to exhibit proficiency, and look at what we have to be proficient at in relating mathematics to other curricular areas. So I hope you could see the need why I thought of looking at financial literacy too, and so with collaborative problem solving and creative thinking. These are good areas for us to integrate or relate mathematics, and of course other curricular areas like science and other disciplines. There are also 4 performance indicators under that program outcome. For the third, it says here, manifest meaningful and comprehensive pedagogical content knowledge, or PCK, as we all know, of mathematics. And there are 2 performance indicators under this again. And then for the fourth, demonstrate competence in designing, constructing, and take note, utilizing assessment or different forms of assessment in mathematics. And there are 3 performance indicators under this. For the fifth one, demonstrate proficiency in problem solving. So there's emphasis on problem solving, and by solving and creating routine and non-routine problems. I guess these keywords emanated from elementary mathematics curriculum, because this is one of the competencies targeted there in the curriculum. But I guess this was eliminated, no, in the list of most essential learning competencies, yung creation of routine and non-routine problems, as what is most essential at this time, based on the K-12 curriculum document, is one's ability, development of one's ability to solve problems. But there are 4 other things that we have to look at in this area. For number 6, use effectively appropriate approaches, methods, and techniques in teaching mathematics, including, I emphasize here, technological tools, because these tools are what we are already employing in this time of COVID. So the CMO 2017 has been very good in anticipating the needs of the future, as this has been conceived and hopefully made us more prepared, in coping with the demands of this pandemic. And there are how many performance indicators here? There are 5, okay? And the 7th one, this is the last, and I hope this is also good to know, that there's also this target of us appreciating mathematics. So for the one who posed a question on how we can make mathematics less difficult, but probably not really easy for some, I hope they could appreciate the role or use of mathematics as it is an opportunity for creative work. So dapat may mga ganito po tayo sa mathematics courses natin. Opportunity for creative work, moments of enlightenment. Diba? Ang gaganda naman ng words ng ating curriculum, no? Discovery and gaining insights of the world. So my dear colleagues and all of you listening, this is a perfect time for us to revisit what CMO has conceived of, na maganda dapat ang pagkakaturo ng mathematics so that the students could appreciate its use in their daily life. Of course, when we talk about courses in the BSED major in mathematics, there are 20 courses listed, a total of 63. But then I included here one general education course in mathematics, and this is mathematics in the modern world, because I thought that's also something we could look at, as it is also a mathematics course, and general education is also a component of our BSE major in mathematics program. So I look at all of those. Now let's talk about the results now, no, of my analysis of PISA mathematics literacy when reviewed in the lens of our program, mathematics program. This is the framework of PISA. You can see now the framework and all the components of PISA mathematics literacy as defined in OECD. So this one, when we talk of mathematics literacy, it's like saying here, no, looking at how it is designed, that person is considered to be mathematically literate if he or she is good at mathematical reasoning and problem solving. And when we talk of problem solving, this includes formulating problems, employing processes in problem solving, and interpreting and evaluating processes. So there are actually two major competencies. These are mathematical reasoning and problem solving in PISA. And this I guess are the same as what we emphasize, no, in the K-12 curriculum, although the K-12 curriculum focuses more on critical thinking and problem solving, but more or less we could see there the parallelism on the emphasis on problem solving. And when we talk of this two major core competencies, they call it core competencies, or the problem solving here has embraced three more specific processes, like as I said, formulate, employ, interpret, and evaluate. They should be embedded in the content areas in mathematics. And these content areas are quantity, uncertainty and data, chains and relationships, space, and shape. But in addition to this, you cannot just test these processes and content without a context. So there's emphasis here on context of mathematics at the personal, occupational, societal, and scientific level. In addition, there's also integration of 8 21st century skills. This is very specific in mathematics. There's no such thing in science and in reading, but in mathematics 2022 in particular, they have already given emphasis on the inclusion of 21st century skills. And these are critical thinking, creativity, research and inquiry, self-direction, initiative and persistence, information use, systems thinking, communication, and reflection. Now, when I look at the PISA vis-a-vis our curriculum, this is what I found out. When it comes to reasoning, as this is one of the two core competencies, I found out, so you could see here, sorry if you can't read, that's really intentional, as I have no way to make that big, as what I'm showing here anyway, is the mapping. And you could see here colors. The second, this column that I'm pointing at refers to the program outcomes at the institutional level. The second one, teacher education program outcomes. The next column refers to the mathematics program outcomes, and the last performance indicators in mathematics. And you could see here that there are colors aligned to each of the reasoning processes, which means to say that our curriculum, as defined from program outcomes to performance indicators, capture or are responsive to all these requirements under reasoning processes. And here are my examples at the right. I'm saying, for example, it's not very explicit though, and not so aligned though, perfectly aligned, but we could infer from how the statements are written that there's this alignment. Like, for example, when we talk of reasoning processes, there's this statement of program outcome that says articulate and discuss the latest developments in the specific field of practice, and another one, demonstrate a variety of thinking skills in planning, monitoring, assessing, and reporting learning processes and outcomes. So there's alignment. When it comes to formulating processes, there is also alignment, as you can see here. So this is what you have to look at. As you can see, colors. There's no a blank space. When you see white background, that means there's something missing. But here, so far, there's no gap yet. Same with employing processes. There are no gaps. Same with interpreting processes. I think they are covered with the way the program outcomes and indicators are written. When it comes to content domains, so there are 4 clusters of domains in PISA, space and shape, change and relationship. And you could see here, we tried to, there are 18 areas here, specific areas for 2022 PISA. And I look at how Golia and Reyes 2020 classified all these 18 areas in PISA into 4, space and shape, change and relationships. And then I did the mapping, and this was verified by the 3 educators in mathematics that I involved in my study. And so you could see here that there's no gap again, as they are all addressed by our courses in mathematics. I'm referring to the domains or content domains. But when we talk of context, so how is context defined in PISA? It's different from how it is defined in the K-12 curriculum, because in the K-12 curriculum, context refers to belief, culture, language, students' prior knowledge, and experiences. But in PISA, context starts from personal, then moving outward to occupational, societal, and scientific. And as you can see in my mapping, which was again verified by my 3 external validators, you could see here gap, as you see some courses without even contextualizing the competencies in mathematics in the context at the personal up to scientific level. So among the 21 courses that I examined, there were like 12, may mga repeat, mga 12 courses or even less, na 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pala. There are 10 courses where they, in the course descriptions, where there was an explicit articulation of the application of mathematics in various contexts out of 21. So that's where we could see gap as well. Now you could see again some blacks here, and this has something to do with the alignment of our mathematics program when it comes to the 8 21st century skills that I mentioned. And you could see here in our program outcomes, there's alignment based on how statements are explained there or put in the document. When it comes to courses, I think there's a need to emphasize self-direction. I think that's very important in this time of pandemic when students are less reliant on their teachers, need for initiative and persistence, and need for reflection. These are the areas where I saw gaps. Now let's move on to financial literacy. So financial literacy is not yet an area that we subscribe to in the assessment of PISA. But then this is a very important concern of ours that we have to integrate as much as possible in our curriculum. There are areas of commonality in the way the OECD designed mathematics literacy and that of financial literacy. And you could see here in my Venn diagram the common area, and that's where they assessed on numbers, particularly basic arithmetic. But there are content areas specific to financial literacy that are not necessarily mathematics, and there are also applications of this where mathematics is not necessarily explicit. And these are what I found out. So these are the content domains in financial literacy, money and transactions, planning and managing finances, financial landscape, risk, and rewards. Now you could see here again my mapping of the content domains and the competencies under each domain vis-a-vis the program outcomes and performance indicators. And you could see here that none of those are not covered as far as the document is concerned, no? Because the document is so broadly stated. So we could just assume that maybe they are already covered because they talk about finances, particularly the course on mathematics of investments. Of course, I just relied on the course description and because it mentions about financial concepts that I thought these are all covered in the document. We could also infer in another course, the GE course, that's the course on mathematics in the modern world, some mentioning about financial literacy included in that course as well. So I could say financial literacy is addressed. However, there are only 2 of these courses I could cite, one specialization course and one GE, where financial literacy is emphasized. But for all the other mathematics courses, wala. Wale, sabi nga nila. Walang mentioning. And that's ironical. Even in the K-12 curriculum, when the K-12 mathematics curriculum was examined by Florendo and Yeban in 2020, they were claiming that there's no explicit mentioning about financial literacy, and we could imply, from how from how competencies were stated, about 21% of the curriculum aligned to it or capturing the financial literacy component. Let's talk about collaborative problem-solving skills this time. This was introduced in 2015. Prior to 2015, because PISA is a triennial exam, no? It's given every 3 years, except for this last cycle because of the pandemic, it was moved to 2014. Collaborative problem-solving skills, this component was introduced in 2015. Prior to that, puros problem-solving lang, more on individual problem-solving. But they gave emphasis starting 2015 on the need to develop students collaborative problem-solving skills and not only individual problem-solving skills, as most of the problems in the world would require collaboration between and among people. And there are 2 dimensions that are looked at, in the framework of collaborative problem-solving: the dimension on social processes, and there are 3 of these: establishing and maintaining shared understanding, taking appropriate action to solve the problems, and the third, establishing and maintaining team organization. And another dimension is the cognitive processes dimension. And there are 4 of these that are covered: exploring and understanding, representing and formulating, planning and executing, and monitoring and reflection. And when we talk about the collaborative problem solving, so that's the merging of the 2 dimensions, leading us to this 12 competencies that we have to develop as well among 15-year-old learners when we talk of making them a collaborative problem solvers. When it comes to the program outcomes, I found out here, as you can see, there are gaps, no? May mga walang colors. Not all PISA collaborative problem solving skills are captured by the PISED mathematics program outcomes and indicators. There is mentioning about problem solving, but it's not explicit in saying that this should be done collaboratively. When it comes to the courses, no? So these are all the courses. I tried to identify from how course descriptions were written if collaborative problem solving was emphasized. And again, I found out only maths in 14. There's explicit mentioning of somehow teamwork or problem solving in 14 courses against 21 out of 21 courses. For creative thinking, let's move on to the framework of creative thinking. So there are 4 domains here. You could see here creative thinking could be expressed in written form or in visual form, and in scientific problem solving and social problem solving. So that the 2 down below pertain to problem solving, but applied in social and scientific context. And the competencies that have to be developed in all these content domains include generating creative ideas, evaluating and improving ideas, and generating diverse ideas. So those 3, mauna siguro generating diverse diverse and then later on creative ideas, and then to evaluate and improve these ideas. So I did a mapping again across program outcomes and performance indicators, and that's where you could see gap. Not all these statements in our curriculum would pertain to its intention of developing students' creative thinking, although we know this is one of our 21st century skills forces that have been, emphasized in a lot of fora and even in curriculum documents, but that's not explicitly targeted in how the program outcomes and performance indicators are written, at least in how creative thinking is defined by PISA. And when I look at the courses specifically, I saw again that out of the 20 courses, 21 courses to include the general education course, I found out only in 10, in course descriptions of 10 courses where we could infer the intention of developing creative thinking. And these are the areas which we could consider as areas for creative thinking. So what are my recommendations now? So I'm moving to my end now, as I know I have to give time to the Q&A portion as well. So with all this analysis that I made on the document, here are some possible areas for our revisiting or improvement, especially those of you who are policymakers or probably being taught to help shape the curriculum, to revisit the mathematics teacher education program framework, not only at the CHED level, the CMO that I mentioned, but even at the institutional level. I think, and even the teachers themselves, the teacher educators teaching mathematics, because they could do the change, the necessary integration in their own course design. Kasi sila naman ang, in our case, at the Philippine Normal University, we can enhance our curriculum. What was given by CMO, by CHED, is just the minimum, and it does not stop us anyway from going beyond what was said. So we can always enrich this by integrating what we saw necessary, especially if we see PISA as a possible reference in improving the state of basic education that we have, as it is an ILSA that is meant for system improvement, educational system improvement. Update the current PSG of BSED and institutional programs, as I mentioned. And then second, contextualize teaching, learning, and assessment practices. If you recall, in my mapping of the context, there are gaps in almost all courses. Parang 10 lang out of 21 would have an explicit targeting of the need to contextualize in their teaching, learning, and assessment the mathematical content and competencies. And contextualization, as much as possible, should be applied or include personal, occupational, social, and most especially, as we have all witnessed, that the need to find solutions to a COVID problem, that mathematics should be a venue for the discovery of scientific problems. Solutions to scientific problems. And then the third, explicit targeting of creative and collaborative problem solving. So this was not evident in the document that I looked at, and even in the K-12 curriculum that we examined too. The fourth one is to strengthen financial literacy in mathematics courses. As I mentioned, there are only 2 areas for financial literacy to be addressed, but this is possible for integration, I think, in all courses, as we should see financial literacy as an important knowledge and skill that our teachers should be good at, for them to have financially stable life, and for them to help improve as well the lives of your students. In the OECD report, financial literacy is considered to be influenced by one's mathematics proficiency and reading proficiency. About 75% of the financial literacy test result could be attributed to one's proficiency in mathematics and reading, and just about 25% is what you could attribute uniquely to financial literacy. So that's how important mathematics is in helping the students and the teachers gain such literacy. This was also confirmed as I mentioned, in Yeban and Florendo's study, when they look at the alignment of the K-12 grade 7 to 10. They look at 2 areas actually, mathematics and araling panlipunan, particularly kasi may economics doon. So that was the assumption education, but they found out minimal targeting of financial literacy in those two areas. And the fifth recommendation for us to find, venue for making our teachers aware and understand PISA framework, because as I said, we benchmark with PISA and other ILSAs, but PISA is the closest to what we want to see, when we talk of the entire K-12 program, because as I said, this is age dependent, it is not grade dependent. And looking at the 21 courses in the mathematics curriculum, I could see 3 possible areas where there could be discussions about PISA. Like there's this course on research in mathematics. It's good if our would-be teachers would examine the data there that we have and find out possible reasons to unveil why we performed poorly in mathematics. And also the integration, particularly of technology, in the teaching and learning. Sa PISA, it's computer-based. We participated in a computer-based assessment, although there's PISA paper-based, but we opted to participate in computer-based. And this coming 2022, that will be the same modality. So there should be integration there. Even in mathematics, meron doon mga simulations. So napakahalaga po na ma-introduce yung mga simulation applications para ma-expose ang mga estudyante natin sa ganitong mga technologies. And of course, assessment and evaluation in mathematics course. So I'm done with the sharing of what I found out in my study, and I was of course informed that after 40 minutes lang dapat, but we still have time though to listen to the questions. But before I listen to the questions that I have to respond to, I want you to pause for a while to give you a moment to reflect on what you heard. And instead of you throwing back the same questions I asked you to post there, maybe it's time for you to share your reflection, because that's what I wanted to happen when I said yes to accepting this invitation. For you to list down your takeaway. What did you realize after my presentation, especially if you are a mathematics teacher, an educator, to our mathematics teachers? What have you realized? So I hope you could write and give your share as well. Okay? Sige, 1 minute, and then write your reflections, and then throw again the questions you posed a while back if you think that has not yet been answered by my sharing for about an hour. Okay? Na, Ian, you might want to read them.
Yes, this one is from Ma'am Marta Alinderme. I realized that teaching math is exciting and challenging.
You see, di ba maganda? So yung kaninang tanong na how to make mathematics, or why is mathematics difficult, or a difficult subject, maybe you could find the answer to that, by making it more realistic, applied in different contexts. So siyempre dapat mag-start sa personal. Kasi nakakalimutan natin yung application of mathematics at the personal, occupational, societal, and scientific or global context. So that could be an answer to that. Pag na-feel kasi yung use niya sa sarili niya, and they would not see the course a difficult one, but a very relevant one. Okay. How to improve performance? Sige, Doc, answer Ian, meron ba bang mga worth mentioning? We really need to revisit our own math program.
Yes, that's from Ma'am Elena Paasa. And then, this one is from Sir Romeo Escarial. Sabi po ni Sir Romeo, I learned how to put the situation in reality rather than imagination. Wow, ang deep naman ng reflection ni Sir Romeo.
Yeah, I came across a question on mentioning how collaborative problem solving is assessed. In what I read, it was done, diba, computer-based yan. And there are, let's say, 3 or more students who are asked to respond to a task. So they have to do the task collaboratively, and then the evaluator examines how one contributes to the work. So since na-imagine nyo siguro yung mga bata, yung mga computer games, di ba? Minsan hindi natin siguro sa katulad ko na hindi naman talaga naglalaro ng computer games, pero nakikita ko yung mga anak ko, may ka-collaborator sila. They are trying to win a certain game or whatever that is. Parang ganun po ang collaborative problem solving. There is a task that they have to do as a group. Mga 3 yung nakita kong example, 3 individuals working on one problem in the computer, like designing something, making a logo, ganun po yung mga task nila. And there are some considerations, syempre, in doing the task that they have to implement, no, in the way they are working collaboratively. So time din po siya, katulad ng mathematics literacy, may certain period na dapat matapos nila yung work nila. So that's how they do it. So siguro tingnan natin yung mga anak natin paano sila nag-work collaboratively sa mga computer games. So we have a good imagination of how collaborative problem solving is assessed, no? For current basic education in create. Naku, na-miss ko. Hindi ko nabasa lahat. Maybe I came across a question pero parang ang bilis nag-move nung ano.
Sige po. Doc Lynn, I'll just read one reflection and then maybe we can proceed to the Q&A na po.
Sige.
This one is from Sir Mark Chavez. My takeaway is that we should continue striving for a better curriculum. Given the presentation made by yours truly, Doc Lynn, I realize that we are still far from attaining it, but through the help of each other, we can achieve it later on.
I love that, no? Ganda.
All right, sige po, Doc Lynn. I think we can proceed to the Q&A. I know there are a lot of burning questions from our kasama teachers.
Sige, go.
Okay, so the first question is coming from Sir Alan Comia. So one of the changes now that he noticed in the CMO number 75 series of 2017 is that computing and programming courses are not included anymore. Do you think now, Doc Lynn, that removing them is justified?
Yun lang ang alam ko, not included anymore. So, hindi ko alam yung old, no? I have no basis. But if you mentioned that was in the past but now removed, and that is more on computing and programming, I think there's a need to recall this kasi napakahalaga. Marami doon, lalo na sa 2022 Mathematics PISA, ang emphasis nila ay meron doon sa simulation, computer simulation. So, siguro baka kailangan hindi enough yung technology course that we have there na 1 3-unit technology course in mathematics. Of course, we have in Prof Ed 2 technology for teaching and learning, but this may not be covered unless it is covered. Maybe we could revisit the course description for technology for teaching and learning 1 and 2. That is a professional education course doon, no? And see if programming and computing are not covered. And then that's the time we could say maybe there's a need to strengthen further the mathematics curriculum to have this integrated. Kasi mahalaga tong programming and computing in other countries like in Hong Kong University, Education University of Hong Kong, when we did our benchmarking there, the elementary teachers are taught on programming. Ang curriculum ng computing. So siguro mahalaga yun. I guess in AI, in the advent of AI, ito yung mga prerequisite skills para maka-produce ng ganon. Well, that's just what I know. And if you think that should be included, no, especially if your institution is open to accommodating new developments in education, since we are not inhibited naman, no? We are not prohibited rather to enhance our curriculum as CMO is just giving us the minimum, then go ahead, I think. Basta yung kakayahan ng bata ay may consider, and of course yung resources nila, that's very important too. And if at present that is not included, then maybe you could find a way to enhance that course on technology to have this as a course, as a component of the course, if not just focus on this, at least kasama siya, no? So that's my response to that.
Thanks, Doc Lynn. Another question, this one is coming from Miss Honey Doniel. Do the PISA results now reflect more on the teaching, on the teacher standards, or this is subjected to the quality of students' interest and learning capabilities? So yun po ang question ni Ma'am Honey.
Well, I guess we need to attribute this to a lot of factors. When we look at the curriculum, yung content naman halos covered lahat, no? Yung competencies are covered as well. Ang difference lang yung cognitive demand, na hindi masyadong nahihit yung high-level cognitive demand, yung evaluative component of problem solving, yung kaninang interpret and evaluate. I think in the report of Golia and Reyes in 2020, these are my colleagues who worked with me when we did the mapping of the PISA vis-a-vis K-12. In their report, they were claiming that the K-12 mathematics grade 7 to 10 has minimal focus on quantity, shades, and yung data and uncertainty in how PISA emphasizes these components. Siguro isa pang area doon ay I don't know if you read the PISA Philippines report or the PISA report 2018 in general. The model grade of our Filipino learners who participated in PISA was grade 9. But in almost, well, I should say, majority of the participating countries, nasa grade 10. Tayo, nasa grade 9. So ano po ibig sabihin nun? Baka yung mga competencies that are placed in grade 10 were not learned and they are more aligned, assuming they were more aligned to PISA, baka hindi pa na-cover ng mga estudyante natin. So one possible area that we could look at is not just the alignment of the competencies if they are there, but also the alignment of the grade where they are targeted. So that's another area for investigation, although that was already investigated. But you can check that out in your reference materials and in the way you design your classroom, kung saan mas nagmamatch yung competencies ng PISA. Siguro if we need to improve this and we want to really make our students globally competitive, di dapat yung mga competencies ng PISA nasa grade 9 and below. No, of course hindi mo sila pwedeng ilagay lahat in one grade level, but the starting point syempre ay nasa K, but hopefully by the end of grade 9, no, sana na cover na lahat yung mga competencies, the core competencies, at least the problem solving and reasoning skills. And I gave you the 3 components of problem solving kasi this problem solving is married with reasoning and all other skills. So siguro that's one. And then of course you mentioned about the standards for teachers. Yes, I agree with you. In studies, attributions ay malaki sa teacher. That's why we have to strengthen teacher quality in the Philippines. And one step to its strengthening at least is the adoption of the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. I'm not saying this because I have been part of its crafting, as this was led, the revisiting of the NCBTS was led by the center that I headed, in its first 4 years of existence, which was already adopted by the Department of Education. That was a step, to improving. Pero hindi pa kasi nare-realize yun eh. It was only adopted in 2017 and CMO has started also in 2017. So baka hindi pa natin ramdam because the ones that are developed to be capable of delivering the K-12 program are not there yet in the system. Sila ay nasa TEIs pa lang. At kung ano ang mga nasa system na, sila yung hindi pa K-12 compliant, yung teacher education curriculum that they were exposed to. So that to me is also a very important consideration in understanding the results. Isa pa na nakikita ko, the one sample in 2018 did not complete the K-12 curriculum. They started in grade 7. No, nung matapos ng senior high school, then they were then we subjected our curriculum to the scrutiny of everyone by our participation in ILSA. Pero itong mga nag-take up nito, hindi sila nag-start sa K. The completion of the entire K-12 curriculum is yet to happen. By ano yun? Mga 23 ata, school year 2023-24, baka doon pa yun, no? Wala pa. In other words, half pa lang ng curriculum ang ramdam ng mga batang ito. Tapos, ito na yung result. Which is, I think, good naman. I could see a positive thing in it. Para bago matapos yung cycle, meron na tayong improvements na magagawa. And I'm very hopeful that improvement could really take place as a result of our PISA with the launching of Sulong Edukalidad program of the Department of Education, which is a quality reform program of the Department of Education, and that covers review of the K-12 curriculum, review and update of the K-12 curriculum, the upskilling and retooling of teachers, the improvement of the learning environment, and the engagement of different stakeholders on all efforts in the quality reform programs of the government. I think magi-improve. Yung parang ganun, I'm still hopeful, no, na meron naman tayong patputunguhan, no? Hindi naman tayo napapabaya. And everyone is giving his or her share naman to really make our learners holistically developed, equipped with 21st century skills, and locally competitive. Hindi nga lang nakaka-capture pa yung tinatawag nating global competitiveness. I actually looked on a lot of data where our Filipino learners competed in global or international mathematics assessment. At if you compare our performance with our neighboring countries, talagang nasa kulela tayo at nangunguna pa rin ang Singapore, even in competitions, na ang mga nagpa-participate na ay mga magagaling na estudyante natin. Look at the data, mababa po tayo. No? So, well, this is not a forum for me to present my analysis in other areas that I looked at kasi gusto ko pong maintindihan ng mga assessment data kasi I'm into this field. But it's worth looking at all this data. Look at the trend, no, or the trends in all our participation in international large-scale assessment even before the K-12. Hanggang ngayon. In fact, if you look at teams, ang baba, sobrang grabe, significant yung pagkababa, no, ng score natin. Anyway, these are all scores, but they just say something we've been hearing, no, ever since na hindi pa tayo talaga nakaka-move on sa image natin when it comes to mathematics education. Sige po, thank you for that question. Meron
Doc Lynn,
tanong.
Yes, meron po. Perfect na segue po ito. Kasi you've already touched on other international large-scale assessment po. No? So the question here is, in what ways daw po has the Philippines participation in these assessments enabled or maybe hindered the preparation, continuing education, and practices of our mathematics teachers toward achieving a culturally sensitive mathematics education in the country?
Oh, napakaganda ng tanong. Parang ang hirap sagutin. But
how Miss Universe po yun, Doc Lynn.
But how PISA and ILSA enabled or hindered? Ano nga ba yung hindered niya or enabled and hindered niya? But anyway,
parang 3 areas po yun, Doc Lynn. Yeah.
Oo nga. Ano nga yun? Sige, pakiulit lang. Enabled, hindered, and?
Enabled or hindered the preparation, the continuing education. Yeah, preparation, continuing CPD, education, and practices of our teachers daw po.
All right. So, siguro maganda ang yung ganito, no? I really appreciate the Republic Act 10533 kasi ganun yung very explicit in the law that we need, the Department of Education has to allot budget for the immediate attainment of international benchmarks. So with this dismal results of all our participation, no, in these 3 pieces that I mentioned in the time of K to 12, nagkakaroon ngayon ng allotment for teacher upskilling or retooling. Kung wala yan sa batas, ay baka, alam mo ba yun, lagi silang maglalabi, no, just so the Department of Education is given budget for the capacity building of teachers. And I guess CHED is doing that too. Ang daming K to 12, CHED programs for teachers capacity building. And maybe these are all happening because the law provides or mandates the CHED and DepEd for the immediate attainment of this standard. So meron tayong reason for all these webinars and all other programs that we avail of kasi we want improvement. So may direction tayo, and at least yun yung goal natin as a country, na we want improvement in the quality of education that we offer to all our learners, but that improvement has to be seen in more or less concrete form, and one indicator is an improvement in our performance in international large-scale assessment. So para sa akin po, dahil nga nasa batas ito, named, hindi named sa RA 10533 what these international large-scale assessments are that we have to participate in, but the Department of Education has named all of this. And because we are aware of all these policies, and if we are excuse me, teacher educators, we have to understand what these policies are that drive the direction of basic education in the country. And so we have to prepare our teachers as well in all these needed areas where they should be good at to be able to deliver effectively and efficiently the K-12 program that we have embraced as a country. So I see things positively in the way we participate. And in fact, as I said, we are again preparing for PISA 2022. And I am part of a group that has been convened by the Undersecretary USEC, no? Nepomuceno Malaluan, to build or to design a professional development program on assessment and emerging literacies based on PISA for all teachers. This is going to happen soon. And we are helping, no, I'm part of this group preparing for 2 interventions. One is for the students in junior high school. We are developing at present the PISA Readiness Toolkit. Its design is parallel to PISA. And that's one thing good I like in PISA. You know, the way assessment is done could inform classroom assessment practices as well. So if we want our students to do well in PISA and other international large-scale assessments, siguro yung the way assessments are designed, maganda kasi, no, may context sila lagi. Tayo sa teaching natin and assessment, I don't know if we are doing the same. But as far as assessment is concerned, minsan we are direct to testing knowledge and procedural, conceptual and procedural knowledge only, but not necessarily contextualized. Kung meron mang contextualization, minimal. Pero sa PISA, it's parang non-negotiable that context should be included in every assessment of content and competency. And that's something we could learn from this participation. So going back to what I've been sharing, meron din, so there's this student intervention that we are developing for the junior high school students, and there is this professional development program that we are also running. We will run soon, no, which will involve all the junior high school teachers across 17 regions in the country. And the ones who will be involved here are the mathematics, science, and reading teachers. And of course, UP ACRC, no, is included in this team that I mentioned. In the Department of Education, they call our group as the PD, no, Professional Development Consortium. Kasi nga madami kami nagpa-participate dito, and PIMEA is represented. PIMEA, where I belong and Ian belong, this is the Philippine Educational Measurement and Evaluation Association. This organization is represented by myself and my 2 other colleagues, Dr. Carlo Magno and Dr. Don David. So the 3 of us are working for DepEd as well for this particular direction. So I don't know, maybe I hope I was able to answer that. Siguro kung meron man akong kakulangan, maybe it's your share too, no, in your reflection. Thank you.
Doc Lynn, one final question. I think it's a very good follow-up question. This one is about contextualization. What particular socio-cultural context daw need to be looked into or perhaps interrogated to develop collaborative and creative skills of mathematics teachers? So again, Doc Lynn, the question is, what particular socio-cultural contexts need to be looked into or perhaps interrogated to develop collaborative and creative skills of mathematics teachers?
Ako, na baka ang daming yan, ano? Baka yung, siguro start from the small context, no? Social context mo within your community, within the family, no? And then moving to your community. So like in this time of pandemic, ano ba ang mga, how is mathematics applied in addressing the pandemic? I think even in PISA, binabanggit nila, no? Yung integration of mga ganito health issues, kaya lang puro scientific ang mga naiisip ko, no? Baka at this point in time yung mga sasabihin kong social context ay hindi kayo sumasang-ayon. Pero ang mga examples na pinakita nila, I mean based on my readings ay sa climate change, kung cultural, baka hindi I cannot identify one exactly, but social, no, like the issue problem on politics, paano ba yon, yung sa trend ng cases sa pandemic, social ba yon? Hindi rin ata, no? Or baka yung oneness natin, kasi may divisiveness ng konti, may kanya-kanya tayong parties, baka yung mga gano'n, hindi kaya? How is mathematics applied in this area? Maybe this is not, you know, the best response to your question, but maybe you could help us identify what these possible socio-cultural contexts are that are very applicable to mathematics teaching. And pakidagdag na lang, maybe I'm not that prepared to identify what these specific contexts are when it comes to social and cultural context, as the details of those are not within my knowledge at this time. Okay? Pasensya na po. Thank you.
And thank you very much po, Doc Lynn. I think with that, we've reached the end of the Q&A portion. And we at Kasama Teachers Community would like to extend our sincerest appreciation and gratitude to you po, Doc Lynn, for your time this afternoon. So alam ko po na ang ating mga kasama teachers have learned a lot from your presentation this afternoon. Thank you po, Doc Lynn. Any parting words po to our kasama teachers, like nuggets of wisdom from you, Doc Lynn?
Well, siguro ako, you just give your share too. I did my share. This may not be the best answer to our problem, the learning crisis that we have at present. Pero just keep on improving your practice. You may not be that perfect, no, in whatever you do, but make sure that there's always an improvement in your practice as a result of your attendance or participation in webinars like this, para meron naman pong value yung time na in-spend ninyo, kasi alam nyo that this could be used or applied in improving your practice for the sake of our Filipino learners. Let us all join DepEd and the CHED and all other government agencies, including this community, in its effort to improving the state of the education that we have in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much po, Dr. Marilyn, and have a good afternoon. Keep safe po, Dr. Lynn. Alright, so mga kasama,